Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. And my brain is only mildly fried as I'm recording for the third time in 5 hours. Um, Phil is back. He's recording for the second time in 3 hours. So hopefully his brain is less fried because we are talking with Kieron Gillen, who we teased this interview just a few minutes ago when he begged me to come back to doing 22 panel. We have a Spider-Man theme to like all of our naming, Kieran. So when we play die, it's 22 panels no more. And I'll do a thing up at the beginning of the episode to say, I've scheduled too much. My head is broken. I can't do it anymore. And I'll end the podcast and Phil will take over with die, but then he'll convince me to come back at the end of the podcast. And this time I essentially just accused him of guilting me into continuing so he could talk to you.
This is my final episode. No, kidding. Of course, that would be
So Kieran
quite
Gillen
strange.
is our guest. His upcoming book is The Return of Die, that I've completely forgotten the subtitle of right
Die
now.
loaded.
Die Loaded.
Yeah.
God of
Phil,
Thunder.
of course, would not forget the subtitle. He's also currently writing the Power Fantasy with Casper Wingard, which is fantastic, and we were gonna talk about on the episode yesterday, except that we
We got
we
derailed.
fell off a metaphysical
It got really,
creative.
yeah.
Yeah, we spent an hour talking about what the meaning of a medium is.
And
That sounds like a much
investigating.
more useful way to spend your time.
It was a way to spend time. We got use out of it. I think. I think the best lines I ended up writing down from that combo was inherently mediums have to be social constructs.
Hmm?
The idea that the convention shared between people who enjoy things in a similar way understand it in a similar way. That was Tad's line. That was Tad's line, and it got
Every
there.
once in a while, I come up with one.
Mhm.
I
No,
barely
I see the
remember
position.
saying it.
So I guess the first question is of those two, what's currently happening, what's coming up, which do you feel more like talking about tonight? The future of Die or the future of the Power Fantasy?
I very easily segue between the two in the level of they're both two children with the desire of attention, and I will
Hmm.
bounce them there. When I feel that one's got too much attention, I'll move to the other one, and then we'll eventually run out of time, and I'll remember I'm doing something else. Like I've got a backlist, and where we are right now, Die is, as we're speaking, a week before FOC, as the orders get cut off a week from like Monday, the 13th. So Monday the 20th is
Monday the
the cut
20th.
is the cut off for that. Um,
That I did make a big deal of
yeah,
yesterday on the
Hmm.
episode.
cool. No, no,
Order your
and
die
that's
now.
that's the real reason I'm out banging drums. But at the same time, that's out till November, and Power Fantasy came back this week for the start of the
Yep.
third arc, which was a banger and went off in that way.
It was good.
It's fun.
Nice.
Like, obviously, it's quite fun. Both of them are just fun in different ways. No one really knows what die is yet. But I should have sent you an early copy. That would have made this interview easier for you. But
It'll be
You can
really full.
still send us an early copy just
oh
because you
yeah,
like I will say that like I plug the three books that I hope will be spectacular, and I'm very OCD. So I like make myself stick to three unless I can stretch to nine.
mm,
But I don't count books that I know are spectacular. So if I read it before it comes out, then it will get a plug because it doesn't have to fall into the three. It'll just like be so the best way to make certain it's getting plugged the week before it comes out is to allow me to read it ahead of time. Just toss
sneaky. Yeah, I'm proof of it. Um, but
I have I have no demands.
yeah, yeah. I've got to say, yeah, that's where we are. So basically, both are happening. Both are kind of basically it's all I'm doing comic wise. Like I've got nothing else on my plate. I paused. Something else we might be ahead. But like, basically, the only comic I was having out for a year was the Power Fantasy. Like, except for
Mhm.
the Was a Future when it dropped. Not Was a Future. We call them Giants. The OG did with Stephanie.
right.
And then now, come November, I'll be doing a second one. But yeah, it's been a deliberately concentrated period. And writing indie RPGs because I have to kill time somehow.
So you're doing a sequel to Giants? Is that
No,
what you
no, no,
just
we're
did?
not. So I
Okay.
was just that's very much a one-off.
Mm.
Okay. That
Yeah.
that when you said it was with Stephanie and then you said come December, which is when I know Die is coming back, but I just like in my head
No,
for a
no.
second, I'm like, You got two art. You're really putting Stephanie to work here, aren't you? You got Die and another OG.
No, I meant like we've done Giants previously, but
Right.
we've been worryingly organised in that Stephanie's like on issue 7. Like we've generally got 6 issues in the can, which is probably I think that's the most I've ever done for
So
a
what
creator
you're
owned
saying
book.
is you're actually going to send me the first arc.
We actually the last 2 aren't lettered well enough I would show anybody, but like
Okay.
you know what I mean. Like, and also Stephanie will always
So
be
like
tweaking.
next week when they are.
Honestly, I'm really working out what because the thing is, it's always what you put out there when you're trying to like. Is that what you choose and you can share and etc. Especially because like the first one is like most of the things I write. The first one is a statement of intent, and in that okay, this is what we're doing now. And by the end, you'll go, oh no, it's died, but I also understand what the angle is on this beast. And you don't want to give that away too much because there's so much other stuff to talk about once you've got past that first concept. So yeah, comics.
Yeah, it's one of those where I mean the sequel to Die was hypothetical for so long that indication on the side of the hardcover of saying book 1 was like just a little tease.
I remember him noticing that.
Mhm. So yeah, so I'm glad. I'm so excited for its coming back. I love
It was
surprises.
his Christmas present this last year. He got
Yeah.
the Die hardcover, and like
Yeah,
the first thing he noticed was it
Yeah.
says
Says book 1.
book 1.
Yeah.
The real is obviously I mean when I made up Die as a concept, well, there's multiple things it was meant to do, but one of them was like to be to RPGs what Phonogram was to comics. In other words, an endless device I could use to pick at stuff if I want to write it. You know, and Stephanie wants to draw it. So it's that kind of like there was always the possibility of a book 2.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like the real reason you have book 1 on the side is if we do a book 2, it doesn't look stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have book 1, and there's also the
Right.
meta. You know, there's the meta explanation because Die all the every single game of the RPG is in canon. So it's like we're book 1, and then you everyone else playing is book 2 to whatever billion. So like, you know,
Right.
since it's all continuity, your games are all Die book whatever. That's the meta reason.
Yeah, but it's also it's weird because I remember seeing you post somewhere that so technically the game that they play in the comic is different from the game we are playing in the sense that I mean aside from the obvious comparison that dragged them off to a magical world and
Yeah.
our magical world. Yes, yes. I mean, for all we know, Die could be the entity making reality stranger every day. You know,
Telling you, it's all algorithmic, and I can totally hack it.
so yeah, so he's playing the fool. His fool's prep today. He asked for a laptop connected to the interface of the world, and so I said a rock tilts upward and is now a screen depicted of cave drawings and relief sculptures, and you are punching stone keys.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's also just like what's the word? Games about playing. By definition, you make moves. And see
I
what
also
happens.
have the Carlisle sword.
Mhm,
I'm an
yeah.
awesome fool.
So the little
But I lost my skateboard.
right, he's
That
been
makes
all
me
over the
very
place.
sad.
The eventually, because he got the sword of Forever Carlisle from the series Lazarus, we are going to go to the world of Lazarus, but the twist is it's also going to be the world of ludocrats. So
Oh no, I'm sorry.
all the Lazari are ludocrats. It's a Lazudocraticus, something like that. So they'll
That's
be
brilliant.
having silly fights over the economic squandered future.
I'd actually like I could see Rucker could murder me over that. It's like, how dare you corrupt my beautiful piece of world building with your nonsense?
So okay, I guess
Well,
we're gonna have
I
to be,
will. Rucka has met Phil, so
Hmm.
like if he winds up listening, and you just send him to me, and I will clear it, and I will say Kieron had nothing to do with it. He was worried about being murdered.
you know,
If you
I mean,
must kill somebody, please don't kill Phil. I like
well,
having a co-host,
I'll fall
but
on
we'll
that
find
sword,
you
you know?
somebody.
But at the same time, he's a big enough fan of Douglas Adams to where I think he would be amused by it.
I hope so. Like you know,
Well,
I mean, he's a
actually,
gamer as well. You know,
Yeah.
Well,
so
and he's also a huge Pratchett fan. I feel like that
Hmm.
fits into the Pratchett,
Mhm.
the Pratchett.
oh yeah. I mean, like it's
concept,
definitely
yeah.
it's more Douglas Adams. I mean,
No,
there's
I
such a
meant
fundamental
mixing
human.
the two.
I know what you mean, but
Mixing the
like
two feels
yeah.
very Pratchett.
It's always like the way we had to. It was impossible to pitch. Like Ludocrats was a very difficult book in lots of ways, but the uh Douglas Adam. Oh, actually, the Monty Python guys do June was one of the useful ones in that kind of. You know, this is a big. You could write this book as a serious space opera, but unfortunately, idiots are at the wheel, and it's going to be very stupid.
Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe. And and Douglas Adams is a lot in the mix there. I mean, Pratchett's got the imagine if Pratchett, you took Pratchett and removed that kind humanist spirit right at the heart of Pratchett, and you replaced it with a dog like humping your leg. That's kind of what Ludicrous.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, I'm still amazed.
Yep.
It's like it's sorry, my stuff really does very well. Ludicrous did spectacularly badly in a way that makes it even
Oof.
funnier. Like
Well,
I own
we're
all
we're
of
so
the
in the red.
issues.
We're still in the red
so
on Ludicrous every year,
so
and we're
so
further in the red. It's amazing.
here's my pitch. Here's my pitch to make Ludocrats more financially successful. You put out Ludocrats 2, reuse the art and just reletter it, and then it's money for old rope.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that was actually what I was about to say about the book one when you said that you had to put the book one so it matched on the shelf. And I'm like, no, because comics people are OCD. If you put out the second edition of book one that has book one on the side after book two comes out, they will buy it again so that it will look right on their shelf and give the old copy to a library.
It's fine. The thing about Ludicrous, it's also ludicrous. We could probably get away with that as art. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There's an element of like, it's just what we do, guys. It's just what we do.
hmm Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. It's
Need
Yeah.
to reread it now.
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
It's one of the things that I read in single issues and I never actually went back and read it all together. And you guys have both just convinced me that I need to.
Yeah,
It's
it's fun. It's really fun. I mean, it's so funny. It's like we're meant to abstractly talking about other things, but I'm very into talking about Ludicrous in that kind of that book never sells it. We're never going to make money of that book, and that's kind of the fun of it. The idea of I want to do something for the art. So me and Jim did the book, talked Jeff into drawing it, and it's 5 really delightful
I
issues. We're very
totally
proud of.
forgot the tag on the issue 4, free penultimate pen not included.
Yep.
Oh man.
Oh, it's weirdly like a Rosetta Stone to so much of your other work. I mean, it first of all, it features Casanova Quinn, who we talked about briefly before air, and then the way that it ends with lampooning overly introspective black and white comics in a similar way that then ties it to Peter Kane and Thunderbolt, in that they share that piece between them.
Yeah, I do like it. It's also Ludicrous makes entirely the opposite argument, which is quite fun in that very different way. I think
Mhm.
we contain multitudes. That's
Yes.
the other thing about Ludicrous was a lot of it was written more recently. That first issue was written. Actually, no, the second issue was written first,
Mm.
but that was dates in 2007 or something like that. But a lot of the plotting for issue 1 was done like then. So like Casanova would have been coming out at Image circa then. This is like me circa phonogram, and that's the weird thing of going back to Ludicrous and making it work in that kind of like I mean like joking aside, Trump ruined so much about that book, and this kind of like awful plutocratic monsters became a lot less
I
funny.
mean, let's be fair. How many things did Trump ruin? Both,
Yeah.
both in terms of humor and like like we just talked about Rucka. How much was Lazarus like? I liked it so much better as a caution. I love it now. I'm not trying to bash it now, but it was so much better when it was still a cautionary tale rather than a history.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like outside the windows, but still. Yeah, but of course we tweaked Ludicrous a bunch to make it like operate in a slightly different manner. But yeah, ludicrous, which is the point. I still smile at the sex scene in terms of like the there's the multi-page sex scene with the sirens going off. That's so dumb, so dumb.
Yeah, it's the I'm remembering the woman that was also a locomotive
Yeah,
somehow. Yeah,
she's good.
yeah.
She
Just
had a lot of
it's
fun.
yeah, pretty much every little detail just sings in that one. And this is I'm trying to so first of all, so the preemptive claim to conversational weirdness that I had was thinking to myself, okay, I need to go into this interview with full Rorschach energy of I'm not stuck in here with you, you're stuck in here with me. But then I'm like, no, no, no. A good interviewer knows that the guest is a star. So my goal is to bring out your Rorschach energy and to if I could regret the level of being trapped here with you that I am, that is the true goal here. So with that, we
You
transfer
want me to
to
break your finger? Is that what you're saying?
actually, if
As
you
I
could,
question you,
If you
every
can find a
question.
way to do it through the internet, I will send extra money.
I would
Well, as-
prefer a hot jar of oil to the face, but I'll take what I can get. Um, uh, So the power fantasy, which in a strange way feels like you are holding the book hostage, but it's really the world that's holding the book hostage for not the continuation, the
Yeah, yeah,
timeline.
yeah.
It's sorry, that was a weirdly accusatory way to say that you're
I know what you
holding your
mean.
own work hostage.
I genuinely feel like I'm gonna the second before this is online, I'll be writing something that's online because I did that essay at the back, and people have for people who are listening don't know. I said was basically talked about the financial reality as, and we're not sure we're going past 16, and we're never,
Mhm.
we're never sure we're going past 16, and it's like we're doing okay. But like at the same time, it's like to go past 16, we really want to go to 30 because 16 is a good ending, and around
Right.
31 is a good ending, and but like 26 wouldn't be a good ending. So like
Yeah.
we've got the math for that is difficult. And the situation is the book is much more like if you're thinking about dropping signals and going to trades, like maybe don't. Like if you care or if you're thinking about, all those kind of really basic things, as in if you're thinking about, I don't know, maybe stopping and waiting for the omnibus, those kind of small things.
Well, see,
Like
this is where I'll
that was
say
kind of
that
the message in terms of what you're doing. And also like I think all books we're in desperate
i-
need for indie books to be talked
i-
about.
if
So that's
if
the other side of it.
necessary, if you're space conscious, etc., and you're thinking that you need to drop the single issues and wait for the trades, then what you need to do is start paying for the Substack.
But yeah, it doesn't go to me is the problem. I am don't do Substack, button down.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Okay,
there we
yeah,
go.
be
yeah,
Yep.
better. Pay for
yeah,
the button down.
yeah.
Well, and
That's the
that's
problem. The money won't go to Casper then, and it's very
yeah.
much like I'm the
You
thing.
can share.
Well,
Oh, I can't.
Does
Once it's in my
Casper,
account, it goes
okay, does
nowhere.
Casper have a Patreon? Can we plug Casper's Patreon, a Ko-Fi, any way
Yeah.
for us to give money to Casper? Because
there we
that
go.
is the alternative. And also, like, if you're loving power fantasy and you think that $5 a month is just way too little, there are ways to send more money to these wonderful gentlemen.
Right. And I know, so like, I know we're being slightly playful here, and also those kind of things. If we're ever in that situation, we'll talk about it. But in reality, it's like just making people aware of what books are, and it's worth
Yeah,
buying
no,
if you
no,
want
no.
to.
I know,
Yeah.
but I'm being slightly playful and I'm being slightly serious because you and Casper are relatively well established, which in
Mm,
comic book terms means that like you can't keep doing a book that if you're leaving losing money, but like you might have a couple of months in between books if you absolutely must,
mm. It's like
right?
I
But
don't want to talk about specifics of the money. It's one of those situations like we're absolutely fine now, but I do the math going forward, and you're like, because
that's what I'm saying.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Which is why I like to tell people like if you love art, find ways to pay the artists
mm.
Mhm.
And the other side
because
actually, specific.
because
Sorry,
they're almost never doing as well as you think they are.
yeah. I mean, mostly. I mean, when we were doing Wick Dip, I certainly was, but
No, but
oh no,
but
I say that jokingly,
and
but
that's
Wick Dip
why I
made a lot of money.
separated
But
you and Casper from
mm,
somebody I don't feel like naming names, but like every year, every month, there are
mm,
5 comics that are great from people that you've never heard of before. Those people might still have day jobs.
yeah, yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I've
You
been there.
know,
Like, there's trying to remember what to say. Like, specifically about actually one thing about Power Fantasy, we're still in the kind of I'm waiting for like the details of the second trade to come through. Like we've had the
right,
orders, but I'm not, in terms of the money flow and all those
Mhm.
kind of basic. I can sit and do some math, and I think we
Mhm.
might be okay. You know what I mean? But I'm not sure we're
Okay.
okay. It's
Right,
very
right.
much
right.
that's why I wrote what I did because that was before all that, and even that
Yeah.
is also like the emotional strain of doing the emotional strain of doing an ongoing is
Yes.
significant. And part of me is like, do I want to do this to myself anymore? So like, there's also that side of it.
I
And the answer to
mm,
that is probably because I'm a masochist. I must be. But I say it'd be a real shame if we end at 16 as a fucking killer ending and people be so angry at us, as in like, how can you end it there? But also it's that kind of um, but it would be it'd be an all time. It's a baller ending.
yeah.
But like, and carrying on is like, I really want to do it because there's so much good stuff ahead. In the same way, we've
Well,
got
then
this,
then I
we got
guess
revealed this issue, like of issue
yeah.
12 and all that issue 11, all that kind of stuff. We've got more of that stuff further out, and it's really like, and there's some real character stuff. I don't want to leave the characters where I'm leaving them.
My my
Uh,
my, my only mild request
hmm,
is if you decide to end at 16, but you know you might come back for 14 more at another time. Don't do the morning glories where you end it really nicely and then do 3 pages to introduce what would be the next 50 issues and then not come back.
That's
Just
like
let it end and then come back.
there is the kind of the yeah. I genuinely have forgotten about morning how I've genuinely forgotten how Morning Glories ended because I read a lot of it and I forget when I
Yeah,
stopped.
I
And
didn't
I
finish
forget if
it.
I stopped or it stopped.
I don't
Um,
Yeah.
remember specifically, except that like I didn't realize that it was not a complete series the first time I read it.
mhm,
So I got to what I thought was the end, and I was really satisfied. And I turned the page, and it's like, holy shit!
yeah.
And
I
then
mean,
holy shit! And then when is this coming back? Oh wait, they haven't done anything in how many years?
I was,
Yeah.
for me, it's really important that whenever I end a book to end it, and that's the reason why I'm so like if I didn't care about this, I wouldn't have written that. As in,
Yeah.
I would like to do because I don't want to leave it in an awkward position. In the same way, like Once the Future, I know if I was going to do a sequel to Once the Future, I know what it would be, and it's
Mhm.
all been set up, but it's an ending. Like when you read the last page of Once the Future, that's the end of the story. You
Yeah.
know, like you may speculate what happens next, but there's no need. And that's kind of how I like ending stuff. As in, yeah, I know what happens, but I'm not, you aren't going to walk away wishing it was there. Um, yeah, it's like that's why Uber's such an enormous frustration to me, as in like it's 4 issues away from the end. I've written those
Yeah.
4 issues and it's entirely out of my hands. And even with Uber, I had a 1 issue. If we're ever told that we're going to end, we can't run anymore, I could wrap up all of Uber in 1 issue. Because the joy of
Mhm.
Uber is, of course, this historical story. So I go into the montage mode, I go into I turn into historical fiction and just do that in an issue. That was my plan if it was ever going to be like just cancelled, and it just didn't. I had no lead time and 4 issues. So like, I still talk to William about stuff, and it's one of those things where um, it's like it's been years, so I don't want to say that it's going to happen,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
like um,
Well,
it's got every chance of happening, and I've certainly
I
got
was about
plans
to
in my
say,
head about what to do with it.
did you have you been following any of the New York Comic Con news?
Bits and pieces, like not. I've been out familying this weekend. I saw. What are
Okay.
you asking? I saw the
One
Vertigo
of the
stuff.
one of the bigger like drops as part of the Vertigo panel was that they're doing the full story arc of the end of Rick Veitch's run on Swamp Thing that they hadn't
I
been
just
willing to
saw this on
do way
Facebook.
back.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean,
Similarly, they announced that Rucka was going to be writing Batwoman again. So
with
they're,
Danny. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
mhm.
Fuck me. So Danny's a great choice. Like talk about. I
yeah.
mean, obviously Greg being back and Batwoman, amazing. But
Mhm.
Danny is an amazing artist.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
Right.
perfect for Batwoman too.
absolutely.
Right.
It just joking. If there were any wounds that DC could heal for you, now feels like the time.
Mm.
You know.
Except not hiring me.
Ah, there we go. That's the joke.
Well, you know, I mean, ask.
No, no. Obviously, I talked to DC. It's just never worked out across the years.
Just never
Anytime I
worked.
was
Yeah.
interested in work for hire, or other, anytime I was looking for work for hire, it was easy to do Marvel. And anytime I was
Right.
finished at Marvel, I didn't want to do work for hire.
Mhm.
So it's mostly that,
That's
but like I speak to them over the years. To be honest, I think it's more likely I would do a book at DC than a book at Marvel now. And I don't mean
Okay.
that just because I haven't, just because I've done so much at Marvel. If I was going
Mhm.
to do work for hire, it should be on the other side of the street.
Mhm.
Um,
right.
you know,
That
Eh,
makes sense.
this might be a selfish request of me, but I hope you don't have to do that. I hope that
yeah,
you're able to pave your way on Creator Own, just because it's like, go ahead, because you look like you immediately want to say something.
Oh no, it's true. Like ideally, it was one of these things that there's many sorts of create your own books. And I used to say like one of the reasons why I did Once in Future was why not I do a work for hire book which isn't killing me. Like the idea, let's do something that's fun, smart hopefully, but just genuinely fun. Run it like I would write Afra, as opposed to the way I would write Phonogram or Die or Wick Div or even Power. If Power Fantasy is less difficult, that's not true. Like it's not Die in terms of the
Yeah.
level of research. I mean, it was one of those situations when I conceived Power Fantasy. It was like I've got, I have a 1 year old at this point. I'm aware my time is going to be pressed in a slightly different way. So the amount of extra, so I'll do a book about stuff that obsesses me and be able to like, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it fits the space I have available. Um, but like if I could I've sort of realized the main problem with Creator Own, as opposed to like semi-Creator Own, like Once a Future, is the level of organizational brain I have to apply to it. So there's an element
Mhm.
of like, I can't do four creator-owned books at Image because my brain doesn't handle it, and I'm also too much a control freak to hire people to do it for me.
Mhm. And
So the reason why I might do work for hire is because I have space, writing space that I cannot
mhm,
fill at Image. Ideally, I should, and I've deliberately kept space free over the time and work out. Okay, what am I going to write the novel of that space? Will I write another silly indie RPG, or maybe I'll take a work for hire gig on for giggles? Because that's the other
mhm,
thing. We mentioned Fraction before we started talking recorded. I remember
mhm,
so just like it's one of the fun. So I just remembered something he said to me, and don't want to quote him out of context in that way. But like one of the great joys of comics is that we can have some fun. The idea of
Yeah.
like, yeah, this seems like a giggle.
mhm.
My weakness, of course, is I can say, yes, that sounds fun for 5 issues, and then suddenly I've done 40 issues for Marvel again, and that kind of like because I said earlier, a control freak and committed to finishing a story. Like I think it would probably be better for my career to quit Krakoa about halfway through my time there, but like I had to finish the story because that's my job. Like that's
Mhm.
not my job to Marvel, but my job to the readers. As in, I think I can give you an ending that is the best possible one you can get in the circumstances of this book. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah,
I say what I my original thing just because you picking up on Krakoa, I was so excited. I was beyond like, okay, if there's anyone hearing Jonathan was leaving, I'm like, I don't, it's over, And then
mm,
I hear you come in, and I'm like, damn, I that's what I want. Unfortunately, then with Judgment Day being announced, and my comics budget just shrank massively. So it was literally, I looked at the numbers and I was like, okay, I could either read just all of the crossover that I want to, or all of the indie books by the people making the crossover, you and Cy and Al. And I said, all right, that's where we're going. Just not
there you
looking
go.
back. I can pick up superheroes from the library when I need to, but it's I am 10 times more enthused by whatever original ideas people are doing over the work they do for hire, but I understand how necessary that work for hire is to survive at
Mm,
times.
yeah.
Well,
So
and sometimes it's just for fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know,
That's the
that
thing is
that was that
occasionally
was that was how I was gonna jump on Phil at the beginning there was unless you feel like you want to. I hope that
yeah.
you never have to do work for hire, but
Mhm.
like I love the existence of Dr. Afra. And I imagine that like I hope at least that like some of the reason that you wrote Star Wars is you like Star Wars. And
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
said, do you want to play in the Star Wars universe? And you said, hell yes, I want to play in the Star Wars
It's a
universe.
giggle, like look at I always think about Fiona Staples writing Saga and then going to write Archie for draw Archie for a few
Right.
issues. She didn't have to do that. She
No,
evidently, she's like
no.
she clearly wants to draw Archie, and
Mhm.
occasionally it's just that, like
I mean,
your
I'm
fan
good
loves
friends
you.
with Chris Cantwell, and like I love his creator-owned stuff. I hope he does a ton of creator-owned stuff. I love his TV, and he likes making TV. So even though I don't love TV, I love his TV. So I hope he can make as much TV as he wants to make. But I've never seen him more excited than when he got the Star Trek gig. He's like, I get to write Star Trek.
That's
Yeah.
like it's true in that way. It's like the other thing. I mean, it's hey. Phil, I completely agree with you. If you're
Mhm.
going to buy any book of mine, buy the creator own stuff. I don't,
Right.
that's the
Right.
very
And
obvious. And I think,
I totally agree with that as
yeah,
well. I
like the other, of course, cynical reasons to do work for hire is it's a different audience and it raises your profile there. And it's always
Mhm.
like, and there's a question mark over actually how many people move over now. As in,
Mhm.
I'm not sure that's as
there
true as it
always
used to
has
be.
been.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's always like there's ways to do it. Like I think Young Avengers to Wick Div was a very good example of like using it in a synergistic way.
Yep.
This is
That
something.
was
This
me.
is very cynical. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that is as cynical as it gets. And it was Wick Div was me and Jamie deciding let's see if we can make a book sell.
Yeah.
Like like
And you
let's actually work out a way to eat. And
and the funny thing about it is that you put in little signals for the people who would find your work and become obsessed with it. Like the reason I
mm,
picked up Young Avengers from the two of you, as the first book of yours I read, was because of Novar. I was a huge Morrison fan and had read Marvel Boy and was like, oh, he's putting Marvel Boy on the Young Avengers and he's back to being Marvel Boy. All right, I'm in, and fell in love. It was great.
thank you. Also, that's the most like Wick Div. There's two things about Young Avengers was it's a homage to everything we love. There's another thing about in the Marvel universe, but also one of the ideas of Young Avengers I really enjoyed it because we never really talked about it was we were pretending to do classic Marvel stories as if we'd never read them.
Mm,
And the idea of like Mother was basically us doing Ultron. The idea
No,
of
oh
like,
wow.
you
Okay.
know, and the Kree Skull War, we kind of reference. We've got this
Yeah.
bit where we got that, you know, those 1950s Kree guys, and the idea of doing implying we're doing the Kree Skull War as a Sharks and Jets kind of West Side Story kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that was a lot all the way through. We're doing these kind and this slightly warped imagine. You know, people often joke, you know, these people haven't even read the comics. Let's make that the thing. Let's
Hmm.
pretend we haven't read the comics, and we obviously clearly have. And then we
Hmm.
do also the deep cuts, like let's bring back Marvel Boy and try to square that Marvel Boy we loved with where he went since. And the idea
Hmm.
of like, okay, what is the emotion? And what I realised, Marvel Boy would have fallen. He must have fell in love with Earth. That's the only way you get from that guy to this guy.
Hmm.
And you can, you know, etc. etc. So I'm glad it worked for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, then digging into the rest of your work after that, Phonogram was, I mean, it continues to be a book that I have the hardest time recommending to other people. I
Oh
recently
yeah,
gave it to my dad to read, and he's kind of stuck on the jump from volume 2 to volume 3. And part of that is I'm telling him like, well, there were like 5 years between that, so it's but also he's like, I was never really into Britpop, and I'm like, neither was I, Dad, but like
yeah.
the feelings that you evoked of like, my favorite moment in that is when Cole puts on, is it Kula Shaker, and he's starting to enjoy it, and he's like, what the fuck, I like this now.
Yeah. What was it? It was Echabelly, was it? I think we
Oh,
used
something.
Echabelly.
It
I
was
would
one of the
never,
two.
ever, even in the worst fantasy universe, ever make my character like Cooler Shaker. You know, there's some things
Oh,
which I'd never, never do that.
it,
But yes,
yeah.
like that was that was
Can
hopefully
we
the
have
thing
a
with Phonogram.
phonogram geezer crossover? This just popped into my head right
A
now when
Phonogram.
you
I missed
said
the second name.
geezer.
Geezer.
Geese. Oh, that's good. I mean, tell you what, I would love to work with Phil Bond. Like,
Mm,
I'll pass that along.
yeah, please do. I mean, it's like, I've met Phil quite a few times, and he's obviously a huge influence on me in terms of Kill Your Boyfriend. Like, if you take about the alternate
Yeah.
universe, I often think about I mean, obviously, I like Morrison, but like, I think about the alternate universe of Morrison, where it's kind of the Saint Swithin's Day Kill Your Boyfriend route, rather than going into being High Priest of the DC Pantheon. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like, and
yeah.
it's always been there, but the idea
Hmm.
there's a different kind of cult figure. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't get rid of what we got.
Sure, sure.
And, but I mean,
And
I always think about
we got
alternate
some of
routes.
both.
Mm.
I mean,
Well,
he still does, you know,
I mean,
Yeah,
but
other
their
stuff.
their careers had more, because I know exactly what you mean, and especially when, because again, I jumped on Morrison's career at midway through Batman, and but there was sort of always this back and forth
mm.
of the tension between the indie work and the superhero work, and the superhero work seemed to mean more to them than some of the indie projects, other than like
Sometimes.
Invisibles and the Filth, really, you know?
Mm.
Though I do have to say that I'm quite proud slash ashamed that both the first Grant Morrison and the first Philip Bond book I ever read was Kill Your Boyfriends. And but the ashamed part is that it was probably 15 years and 5 readings after I'd read it that like I clicked who they were. I'd read it multiple times, loved it,
Yeah,
one of my favorite comics, but like had never attached. It was when I was reading younger and not attaching as many of the creators automatically to the works. So it was years later that I'm like, oh wait, that's a Grant Morrison book. Oh wait, that's a Philip Bond book.
yeah. It's it's like hugely influential on me in terms of like Kill Your Boyfriend. It's a hell of a piece, especially Phil's very breezy, light energy to it with all the sociopathy as well. Great stuff.
Yeah,
I actually got a page of it somewhere. I don't own much comic art, but I did get a copy of a page of Kill Your Boyfriend. My first
nice.
I think my second San Diego. Jamie came running back to the table like 10 minutes before the end of the show, saying, "Oh my God, Phil Bond's selling pages of Kill Your Boyfriend for like $100. Actually, $110 maybe."
I
Wow, that's a
It
steal.
might be 120. But anyway, that amount. And it's like, really, is it going left? And we legged it in the 10 minutes before the close, the hall shut from the image booth down to where Phil was. And entirely had no chill whatsoever. You know what I mean? It's one of these bits where, like, the truth of what me and Jamie are was very clear. But yeah, it's the page where you look you look you look so sexy in that dress. I'm not wearing a dress.
Mm,
That page, which is a very funny page.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you? How do you like Vimanorama or
I
Vimanorama? I'm
I haven't read
mispronounced
that in
that
a
terribly.
long time,
Uh-huh.
actually. In fact, I think I've only read it when it came out, so I haven't got a strong take on it. It was great to
Okay.
see him working again. I'm genuinely not sure what I make it now or then.
Yeah. I only asked because that was I found that in college, and so I found that first, and actually wrote a weird essay on it for a class on Orientalism that I was taking
Mm.
at the time. But yeah, it was just curious. But it's definitely one of those ones that I don't remember the suicide aspect when I reread it recently. So I guess that's a weird recurring theme of Morrison's, though. Transitioning while on this kind of so I guess aside from Kill Your Boyfriend, how would you describe the rest of your enjoyment of Grant Morrison's work and their influence on you? And I ask that with the looming specter of I your newsletter is how I discovered The Last War in Albion from Elle Sandifer. I'm hoping to interview her maybe soon. I sent her an email. She said that sounds great. It might be coming up, but uh, yeah, take it from there.
L, I say everyone read Last War in Albion. L's great.
Hmm.
Morrison, where to start with Morrison?
So it's
Like, obviously, I stole his haircut. Sorry, stole
hmm
their haircut.
hmm
Um, which Invisibles was big for me. Like, I was got to comics in like late 90s. So I picked up Watchmen on a trip to America. Then in America, I met a friend who lent me a load of like period Vertigo. So that was he big long boxes of the stuff, and including there was Invisibles, amongst also like all of Hellblazer up to that point. Lots of others, including Kill Your Boyfriend, I think was in there. I'm not sure all about that though. So Invisible, it was just one of my like real kind of entry work into this is the end. This is the 90s. This is kind of comics are kind of born from a similar place where I am, engaged with similar emotions. Uh, it's really tricky. Like in that kind of like you can go back to Zenith. Like I read Zenith. I said I would go to comics later. That's also not true. I read my brother's copies of 2000 AD, so I read Zenith. So that very kind of pop cultural mode is there. Um, I like. God, this is really tricky to pause because basically, and he's there's so much I want to write essays about because it's kind of like I have a complicated history of them. In that kind of there's definitely a point where I lost interest in what they were doing, and that was because I was going hard the other way. In that
mm,
kind of like, I think We Free was the last book I genuinely, completely adored of theirs.
interesting.
And like, I'm not, I'm relatively downbeat on All Star Superman. I'm really kind
Mm,
of out here. As
I
in,
know that. Yeah.
it's obviously a great book. Like, I'm
Sure.
not joking, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but there's kind of the bit where what interests me is not that. In the
Hmm.
same way, I'll follow it because Grant does. I occasionally think about Alan the same way. As in, Al loves all the cosmic stuff at Marvel, and I don't care about it all. And I'll read it because Al does. And Al
Hmm.
clearly loves it. And
Hmm.
Al's love will carry me through and take me into this very clearly poetic relationship he has with this fiction. You know, Morrison's to say, I kind of want to go back and reread all this DC stuff in that because since I'm in a different place now, I think I'll be
Hmm.
able to appreciate it more. But like Morrison was just very clearly the coolest motherfucker. Like let's not over. That's
Yeah.
probably the easiest way of saying it.
Yeah.
Like the Invisibles was clearly a load of books thrown at the page. This is a life being lived.
Hmm.
I love the ridiculous show personship of it. You know, the whole kind of masturbate to save this book. Like, I
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like, we're talking earlier about the power fantasy. It's like, you'll know if I actually want to save if the book's in trouble, I'll do something really stupid.
I
Like, I
I
won't
want.
just say,
Yeah.
maybe order a copy. I like,
Tell someone about the book and then masturbate together about the book.
yeah,
That will be
yeah.
the death knell.
Yeah. No,
Um.
to be honest, I'm just encouraging masturbation. It's like it's
There
not
we
to
go.
save the book. You deserve it. You know, give yourself a little treat.
Excellent.
Uh,
Excellent. No,
um, but
that's really
also
great
like
to hear.
there's actually a line. I think I'll put it in Last Word of Albion. You can see it in Kill Your Boyfriend, where basically the entire um, Saint Swithin's Day. There's like two panels where basically the boy is dancing to There She Goes in the
Hmm.
graveyard. You know, in front of Marx's grave. Um, you only, you know, any base and the extols the song what it sounds like and stops. You only young once, and that was it.
Hmm.
And basically, those three panels are some of my favourite panel transitions ever. And Elle
Hmm.
completely nailed me in terms of, oh no, this is where the entirety of Kieron Gillen's persona. on the
Mm,
comic pages come into focus in those 3 beats. It's that
yeah,
stuff. You know, that kind
yeah.
of like really small,
The
personal.
small human stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Also, but just post like Flex Mentallo. That's a hell of a book.
Oh,
That
love
you know
it.
what I mean? These kind of that's when Morrison really pushed it into that area. No
Yeah.
one does what they do. And like I think as a force of nature and an imagination and a commitment to what comics can do, really they are in a league of their own. I think them. I think of them as someone mercurial in that way, as in like
Hmm.
I think someone like Moore's a better comics technician than Morrison is by a long way. And I say
Hmm.
that obviously Moore's in a different league to anyone else, full stop. But
Oh yeah.
like if you were to compare them, like for me, let's not go into there. That I don't want to put
Yeah,
them against each other in that way.
that's fair.
But like
They're already
Morrison is
there. Like
like
you don't need
is
to get
a
between.
mercurial, all powerful spirit, and it's
Uh-huh.
like he's the thing about Morrison. It's very easy for people to try to rip them off, and it never
Yeah.
ends well.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely part of it. So oddly enough, I think so this is funny. My first like real comics experience was going to Morrison Con back in 2012.
Oh,
The
you got
one
to
time
that.
I did go to that. That was in my senior year of college. I was 21. I had a blonde mohawk that I never spiked. It was a ridiculous haircut. I was known as the kid from Normal because that was the college town as Normal. Um, and uh, it was, I mean, it was a wild time. It was fascinating. Um, but at there, okay, I lost and then got back. Okay, so what convinced me, because I was already like, oh, Young Avengers is looking interesting. You know, it's kind of a hype for Marvel now. Hickman was talking about the beginning of his Avengers run. So, you know, when they were talking about some of the books coming up, I was like, oh yeah, Young Avengers look interesting. There was a guy who asked other people questions about Phonogram and no one on stage had read Phonogram. And then everyone in the audience cheered, like, what do you mean? Phonogram's great. How could you not have read Phonogram? And I believe when I asked him about it, he introduced himself as David Cole. So it was a little strange. After asking if I'd read it, I said no. He said, okay, then my name's David Cole. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. In hindsight, weird in hindsight. At the
Yeah,
time, I
that is
had
weird in
no
hindsight.
idea.
Unless it was David Cole.
Unless it
Like
was,
it's the full on I met Alan Moore meeting Constantine moment.
yeah, exactly. And if that's it, then hey, that's great. But like, that was what convinced me to read
Apparently,
Phonogram.
Alan's not the only Hellblazer creator. I was talking to Aaron Campbell, and not
Oh,
only did he have stories from a half dozen other people who'd worked on Hellblazer about them meeting Constantine, he told me his own.
nice.
So Constantine apparently pops up to Hellblazer creators at a disturbingly
Yeah,
common, but like I don't remember all of his story right now. Was it a con? I had like lots of sensory stuff going on, but I didn't like he acknowledged the non-supernatural element of it, the more doppelganger if, but like doppelganger in that like completely weird. I might not have thought of it as Constantine if I hadn't been writing Constantine, but oh my God, it was Constantine.
That that actually happened to me with Alan Moore too. I at a con I ran into a guy that in hindsight I was like, was that him? Fully knowing, no, that wasn't. He doesn't travel to America, I assume. You know. But it's weird that my brain was in a place where it conjured that up. You know.
that is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. This is now I guess the have you ever met a fictional well, you've actually been the fictional character that met others with the magazine issue of Wick Div.
Yeah, it's like is that the fiction suit aspect? It's one of those things like I believe in everything, like I say Moore and Morrison believe in, but I've somehow put it into a kind of like ironic brackets, by which I mean
Mm,
this is just science. I'm interested in hacking human consciousness, and I believe we're a
mhm.
bunch of chemical stuff. So it's not real, but I clearly I still all those moments. So there's definitely reasons I do the kind of the blurring.
Mhm.
Um, have I met any characters? It's worth noting, have I met any fictional characters? There was definitely a bit where I put this in the third phonogram where there was a kind of there was a Michael Jackson impersonator on the train, which I just finished the book, and it had to be an impersonator. Had
Mm,
to, you know, like, and it's very weird to see a Michael Jackson person, really very credible one, down the train, and I didn't want to look too closely because it
mhm,
genuinely felt
mhm.
creepy in that way.
Yeah.
Um, I've met people who feel like they've stepped out of my fiction, and this is another thing Morrison wrote about. You know,
Mhm.
they in terms of they stopped. they started writing the Invisibles and trying to use it to alter their lives as an act of magic. Um, I think my work is much more of an act of therapy and occasionally a magical ritual to protect the world, specifically myself.
I see. Well, so this is where the death of Lucifer, death of Bowie, death of
Oh yeah, that like sorry,
yeah.
Chrissy. Obviously, you spoke to
Please
Chrissy,
swear.
haven't you?
Please swear.
Yeah.
I
The
have.
she she had to say, Kieron, you did not kill Prince. Like generally, like when it was just Bowie, it was weird. It was very weird
Hmm.
because it was the same day, but it was unbearable when it was followed with Prince like shortly afterwards. Like I genuinely was thrown in that kind of. And so Chrissy had to kind of talk me down a bit in that you're not
Wow,
actually just murdering pop stars. I mean,
that's
if
good.
Gargoyle was the third, if Gargoyle died, we'd have been probably like someone put away this cursed comic book. Uh,
Has she put out a significant album since? That's the question.
that's like, yeah. Oh, only
I
her career died.
mean, I and I know that I'm sometimes in the minority here, but I think her albums with Tony Bennett are gonna go down as classics.
I have not given them the fair listen. I think as in
Yeah,
I mean, I love Tony Bennett, and that's why I have them. But the more I listen to them, the more I realize she brings to them. The more I realize that they're as much or more Gaga albums as they are Tony Bennett albums. And in the weird, like it's Gaga channeling Billie Holiday
uh,
or I mean she's not gagifying the American songbook. She, you can tell that she loves it. It's almost like what you were talking about with Al and the Marvel
hmm.
um
Cosmic.
cosmic universe. Like you can tell that she grew up with these songs and loves them, that when she met Tony, they developed a genuine bond, and that like she loved, you can hear it, she loved making these albums. Which is something that I already that's already why I prefer like Tony Bennett to Frank Sinatra. I've never heard Tony Bennett mail a song in. If he's singing it, it's because he means it. Whereas Sinatra, half the time I hear him sing, it's like he's singing it because there's a paycheck,
That's interesting.
you know. So yeah, that's just my one of my uh I don't even want to say unpopular opinions because I think most people just don't have any opinion on
Mm,
these albums. They're
that's
like,
interesting.
oh, Gaga went and did something with an old man.
It's a quite a semantically loaded sentence there.
Uh,
Um, yeah, but no, it's funny because then so then sorry with the Prince and the Bowie so then in Once and Future with Boris Johnson and the Queen was that just old hat by then or
I mean, like maybe I didn't care if those people died.
yeah yeah
Didn't
I did
quite.
I didn't look up the dates for the Boris Johnson one, but I still remember looking up like because I read the end of Once and Future well after it had come out in single issues, and when the Queen appeared, I was like, wait a second, this happened around the time that the Queen died. Oh no, maybe they finally felt comfortable enough to announce it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so without asking you to resume where you were in some kind of nervous breakdown, how do you continue to square that? Does that continue to weigh on your conscience with the power fantasy, which I mean, I can draw faint parallels
I
between the
mean, honestly,
opening
like
arc and
that first assassination at Trump. Sorry, the first assassination attempt at Trump was the day before FOC.
wow.
Like uh,
I'm resisting
like
saying
I had a weird instance around that too,
what
but yeah.
what I could say that I would be ashamed of myself for saying.
Well, no, because it's weird. I associate the first issue with, the assassination of the American president with that shortly after Joe Biden had the disastrous debate where he, mentally was not all there.
yeah. It's like you don't know, like coincidence exists for a reason, and it's part of the reason about fiction. It does echo and cast. It's the tarot card. of it.
Hmm.
You know, fiction's a tarot card and we interpret it and it reminds us of different things at different times, I think. That's a very wishy-washy answer, but I
Hmm.
still think it's a worthwhile one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
On that note, that's one of those where I hope the power fantasy continues on for a very long time,
Me too.
as
Actually, you know.
I am associating the end of it with the end of reality as we know it. That's it's quite the unpacking.
I feel like it's looking for an option other than that.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I like about it is it's like this discussion of and
How
cautionary again. It feels like a parable for people having too much power and what happens and like, is it possible for people to have that much power and not be corrupted, not be uh, evil?
Yeah.
um
I mean, it's definitely the metaphor. I mean, the basic metaphor, and it's like always be. It's never quite as simple as just one metaphor.
right.
But, it's like Etienne says it in the first issue. He's like, no, no one should have the power I have, evidently. And it's like, no one, neither man nor nation should have the power to destroy the world. So, in other words, this is about presidents and this is about billionaires. This is it possible to be an ethical billionaire? And the answer is no. But like, unfortunately, they exist. So what do they
Mhm.
do? And not what do
So
we do with the power we have? Because I think the other thing about the power fantasy, it goes the other way. It's a philosophical comic about what do we do with power, and that
right.
is something you should carry through to all our lives on a very general level. And this obsesses me because it's like I've written a lot of bad people, like and people who at the very best are like people who start bad and actually grow toward transcendence. That's what Wick Div is. This is deeply Catholic bullshit. Um, because like one of my things, it's really being good's easy. Like I swear, it's like everyone knows very roughly what it is to be good, like in a
I mean,
context.
it should be.
Yeah, it should be. And the problem is like, evidently it's not. And so,
But
what
I
interests
mean,
me? How do we self-justify? That's what interests me, and that's
yeah,
the
I mean
reason why all this.
that's the
Yeah.
thing. The second life is hard, and you see something bad that could make it easier, or the second you see somebody who's being bad and making your life harder, there's just, yeah, being good should be easy,
But for those so
which
many
is why
things gets in the
it's
way.
so frustrating that not everybody does it.
Mm,
But it's also so easy to decide that it's a luxury.
mm.
I think it's also rather obfuscated by society because, one of the things that weighs on my mind living in America is, you know, eh, so like we're on a limited budget right now. My wife's in school and it's hard to stick to it because one of the things that's difficult is that, we both have various medical issues. So when it comes down to like food, something as simple as food, it's like, okay, we want something that's cheap and healthy. And in America, that doesn't exist.
Mm.
It's just maybe somewhere outside of a city, there's small vegetable farms where it might be easier, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, um, you know, we could eat, cheap chemical filled crap and survive on less money, but we would feel worse in different ways,
Mm.
and in those simple ways, and that's even the least consequential, the least of decisions of what should I eat, that impacts, relatively few other people, and yet making that decision is still,
Where should I live?
yeah, those
Mm.
sorts of things. So it's,
It's like the good. It's like I quite like Power Fantasy regularly gets compared to the Good Place, which I quite like because it's not least because it's a it's a genre book about philosophy in a
and twisty.
playful way. Yeah. And of course, that's where a Good Place ends up in terms of people can't be good on Earth.
Hmm.
The game is stacked, which is like an interesting way to look about these things. But it's worth
Hmm.
thinking about. Like this is
Yeah.
fiction as a device for us to think about what we're doing and why. And like I'm aware that there's a lot of I don't like the idea that the stories are just like old 1980s He-Man episodes where you've got the moral at the end. As in, of course,
Mm,
kids, what you shouldn't do is, have nuclear bombs as superpowers. So just don't do
right.
that. But at the same time, it's like I'm emotionally engaged with these questions and conversations, and I can't stop thinking about it, which is the reason why I do what I do.
Hmm.
Um, I think.
Yeah. Um,
Well, I hope. Like that's
yeah.
things. I say all this because it's like I'm not like my kind of the thing that makes me happiest in the world is that the older I get, the more the characters I play in RPGs, if given complete freedom, is basically a paladin. Like
Mm,
by which I mean like a Superman character. Like
yeah.
I will be a paragon. I will do the good thing no matter what it costs my character. And the idea that that is that basically what I like to do.
Hmm.
And of course, it's like the stuff in the fiction is what I'm afraid about.
That's a de that's definitely a default. I am accelerating my conversation. My computer might die as my power cord might have gotten pinched somewhere and is no longer charging. So I am jumping to my end game. I want to
Ah,
specifically talk about Power Fantasy number 10,
cool.
which was my favorite birthday present this year as it came out on my
Hey.
birthday. Yeah. Um, I might have just been staring at it a little too long, but I eventually started reading it. I was staring at that opening page about the diagram for the basic shapes, the idea of this is was launched on the Pioneer 10 probe. And with that, I guess something between that and the signal, the character that is, a drawing of a man and a woman overlapping, and where they overlap, they change color, and there's a third thing that emerges. I started holding up the pages and letting the light shine through and seeing with the physical object, there's an arrow on that first page that points towards a line that's on the second page. It Am I finding something intentional, or did I possibly get a little too inebriated and stare at
Yeah.
this book a little too
If
much?
I was to like, I would say like if there's the oblique strategy thing, honor your mistake as your hidden intention. I will never
Mhm.
tell you if that's true or not.
Thank
Like
you.
I would never ever tell you it's true or not. I would say it's like if it was like, there's definitely times in my career when I've done that.
Hmm.
Like in terms of the you're meant to be able to watch stuff through the page, or like the bit of Watchmen when you get stuff like Dr. Manhattan walking at the same speed across different panels at various repeated poses.
Hmm.
But I think if I was going to do something that like that, I would have done it like Dennis did at the end of
Mm.
Martian Manhunter 1. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
see,
I
I
would have
I
been
need to. Mm.
spoilers. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. In
No.
fact, it was mentioned earlier. But
Yeah.
Dennis is, and I forgot the Yavia.
Mm.
They're explicitly using the page in interesting ways.
Yeah,
Um,
this I need to get a physical copy of that and read it then, because part of the inspiration behind this was assorted crisis events,
ah,
and I've been reading that series as non-traditionally as possible. So the third issue with Hearth 1 and Hearth 2, I read page 1, panel 1, or when it eventually went page 2 and 3, page 2, panel 1, page 3, panel 1, page 2, panel 2, page 3, panel 2, and sort of zigzagging with the panels back and forth, as they were typically in the same shape. And I was treating, one page as Earth 1, one page as Earth 2, but the time is happening simultaneously. And that got to some really interesting things. And knowing your deep formalist background, and I was thinking that this is at least a possible thing, and I appreciate the non-committal response.
no, it's definitely it is a thing you should consider. It's like the one thing actually is actually about the power fantasy. I'm pausing. There's some clever
Hmm.
shit goes on eventually, but I'm
Hmm.
far less engaged with the formalism on power fantasy than I am with any other book I've done, with the possible
Okay.
exception of Die, because you can't
Mm.
control Stephanie.
Right, right, right.
And I wouldn't even try. But like I'd done Waking Divine with Jamie, so it's element of
Hmm.
like I write the scripts which are dense and playful and giving Casper ideas, but Casper doesn't show me roughs. He doesn't. He asks if he goes really off script. He asks me,
Okay.
but normally I don't see stuff till it's finished. Um, and then we just if there's something really wrong, we'll talk about reworks.
Gotcha.
So in other words, a lot of the formal choices come from Casper.
Hmm.
Like the in the latest issue with the big psycho at the base, you got the basically you got the plan type view with the characters moving all the way through on the way down. That's Casper. As in basically, I wrote something much more traditional. But like to what he said, kind of do it like this because he did it before on Homesick Pilots, and he thought
Hmm.
he really thought it would work well on the base. I said, yeah, sure, definitely go knock yourself out. And all the way through, it's like I'm trying to create spaces for Casper to really show off, uh, which is at least half the battle, really. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it's the formalism I'm doing is working in a different way. I think.
It's free formalism.
Yeah, yeah. It's more like I'm less. Yeah, I said I'm keeping saying I'm a control freak, which I don't think is really true
Mhm.
compared to many people. I just like looking maybe I'm a control freak. I'm being a control freak. I'm being a control freak now. Um,
Well,
but like it doesn't mean it's choosing what not to do is also important. That's this
yes.
this book is about that.
Yeah. Okay. That is obliquely insightful for sure.
Hmm.
It's coloring my rereads in multiple ways because
Yeah.
yeah, that's I'm
We
already
talk about everything though, is the thing.
mhm,
Like this the
mhm,
conversation with me, I talk to Casper every day when we're working. And the other thing is that like you mentioned the Substack actually. It's not Substack, button down, but
mhm,
Script Club
Yeah.
is my new thing, as in basically to pay for the mailing list. And Trust is doing more than that now by a significant amount, so maybe pay for something else. Um, is I'm sending out a script like once a month is the idea, and when people like see them, they'll start to see. Well, so these dialogue is completely different. Like all that kind of like I change a lot. Like I change it after I see the art. I quite there's definitely some scripts I kind of like, okay, start drawing this. The dialogue's not right. And then I come back and rework it. So for me it's always the conversation. And that kind of
mhm,
also there's some very clever effects you get um by just the back and forth of it. And also so much of the stuff we did deliberately in Wikdiv in terms of like cutting up issues and making it from scratch. Um we I got from stuff I had to do at Marvel to get by in that
mhm,
kind of like the story I normally I've said this in a couple of in when I've tweeted comics, this is an example I use. Like Carlos in issue 3 of Uncanny for the reasons he had a lot of stuff going on, so it wasn't his fault or anything, but we had to split the issue to three artists.
mhm,
And so the three artists got different segments and each one drew their own bit beautifully. Everyone's pages are great. The problem being that one of the person, due to the way the script broke up, didn't do the establishing shot the other person needed. So something that was important for the final reveal in the story just wasn't set up. Um, and the problem with this is that the thing what that hasn't been set up was the 1,000 foot tall golden celestial standing in Golden Gate Park. Um, and so I had a little cry. I guess, like, for a while I was thinking, I'm just going to have Magneto here say, "Oh, we are back in the park. And look, the Celestial is standing there exactly still as it stood still for the rest of the time. So if it moves, it's a big deal, right? Everyone remember that, yeah?" Um, but what I actually did was, okay, what we can do is go back to issue 1, take the establishing shot, which we used of the Celestial there, um, remove the people in the foreground, recolor it to be at dusk, take the panel of Magneto, move it beneath that thing, rearrange the now four panels on the previous page that center them a bit to make it look less weird. And we've re-established it. So basically, I magicked up an establishing shot by just telling people to cut and paste. Um,
mhm.
that, and that's like as formless as it gets, but at the same time, is desperate a hack job. Like not hack
Yeah,
job, but like that panic editing. We're going to save it in the editing suite. And
right.
that's what Marvel taught me in that way. And I don't think many people do the extreme to what I did because that's the
Mhm,
way my brain works. But I took that stuff and then took it into Wikdiv, which was one of our major tools. The idea that we
mhm,
could turn 20 pages of comics into 25 pages of comics by
mhm.
cheating and adding black panels and stuff.
Right.
Um, so I do less of that. There's some of that actually coming up in Power Fantasy now I think about it.
Okay. Okay. That is very
That's a
exciting.
tease.
I that's we love those. That's also I do remember that anecdote as I've taken your master class.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. It was enlightening. That was like 4 years ago now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
About this time 4 years ago. So yeah. So it's I can imagine because I remember you doing it again, and I thought for a second, oh, I've already taken it. I don't need to take it again. But next time it's up, I might because it's probably changed from the last time. But that also you mentioned the changing in dialogue. The first time I wrote a comic script with dialogue and got art back for that, it was definitely a sudden, oh no, I have to change all of this
Oh, yeah, yeah.
from
That's part of the job.
simple, yeah,
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 it's like, oh,
and
this isn't working.
yeah, and it's something to look forward to now. Of like, oh no no no, don't be too precious with the first attempt because it's not going to be the same.
Just don't fix it on the post, the quote unquote lettering pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Letterers have very strict schedules. It's a pain in the neck when they have to go back.
I'll say I'm going to play like bad cop here. It's well, like Casper. You should give it to the art. You should give it to the art, the letter in the best way possible. But
Mhm.
lettering is one of the few times you do genuinely get to change the story, for, like, because no one's read it yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I think letterers should be paid for reworking. Like, basically,
Oh,
there's a
they
number.
they they are.
Oh yeah,
Most
yeah,
of
but
them
the
are
number of
anyway.
there's an element of like really, especially when you create your own book. If it's something that needs to be changed, we'll work out a way around doing it. And it's
Right.
like I check with Casper, like, and there's people who take the piss. They give completely broken scripts. They demand it bring, but
Mhm.
there is a kind of like the letters I work with. There's an understanding that we haven't read the story until we've lettered it, and after that there
Mhm.
Right.
might be changes. And if there's too
Right.
many, we'll definitely pay you
And
even
and
more.
and and and
Mhm.
and
But you're right about schedule, obviously.
because we've talked to 4 or 5 letters and good ones, and they're not complaining about this, and they even have like somewhat different standards when it comes to creator owned versus like their Marvel DC work. But they do appreciate as much of the script being not because of the pay side, but because like
The
for
amount of work,
them
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for them to pay their bills, they need to schedule essentially a book a day to letters. So if they're having to do a repass, it's having to be added onto their schedule. So even though they're getting paid for
Mm.
it, um, they're essentially having to work overtime because they can't there's not a good way for most of them to schedule, okay, these are the days for my repasses.
Yeah.
Because
It's like
particularly if there aren't repasses, then they don't get paid on those days.
yeah.
You know,
So
so
I'm
it's the
smiling.
balancing
Like,
act.
I think if they're working at Marvel, there's always going to be repasses because we know. And
No, no,
I say that in depression. And
no,
yeah,
no, no, no.
yeah.
I totally get it, but that like that's there's nobody that I talk to that like are bigger fans of like every ounce of comics than letterers.
Mm.
I mean, I love talking to letterers because A, they're the first one that sees the final project. B, they, people who wind up being letterers just have like different brains that I
I
kind
said
of
like
relate to.
they've got completely different like I mean, so many also line artists. You know, like Clayton is certainly. Um,
Right.
there's a very broad skill set there. The designers, you know,
Hmm.
yeah, fascinating.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, so I wasn't saying that you never change it because there's also nobody that wants the book to be perfect more than the letterer most of the time.
Mm.
But I've had like letterers with a group of people like because we'll sometimes have the whole team, you know. You'll hear the writer talk about, well, sometimes you just got to let it go, and the letterer go, no, no, you don't.
That's funny.
From there,
Um,
from there, quick. So you've also had a lot of custom balloons on your books, more intuitive than we've seen so far. Do you have a favorite over the years?
Woden.
Woden. Oh,
Uh,
nice. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Woden,
Yeah.
like Clayton loves doing that stuff, and it's like I never actually ask him. Like
Mm.
it's one of those
yeah,
kind of, oh, well, that's not true. I say this would be a good place for a custom balloon if you want to do one.
Okay.
Clayton
Okay.
is
No,
I
actually,
love Clayton.
he might recorrect me on that. So, Kieron, you're always asking for them. I think it's the case of like when he started
I
giving
mean,
each of the gods,
he's the letterer that's been on the most. So if you want me to ask the next time he's on, I
yeah.
will.
And so I'm aware, like when he's done it, like the gods in Die, for example. Like we kind of like all the gods in Die have their own one. So it's kind
Mhm.
of now that if he knows there's 12 gods, so he must have known at the start he's signing himself up for this. I guess.
Well, but I mean, I know from having talked to him that that's one of the things he likes to do. He
mm,
likes to design. That's the other thing I've noticed. Every letterer has a different thing that's like their passion. Like Clem loved designing a font that felt handwritten because he saw the writing on the wall. He knew that he was going to need to go from hand lettering to digital lettering, but he didn't want to have 1A. He wanted to have 7A's. So you couldn't tell that it was digital font,
mm.
like when he talked about creating that, he just went nuts. Hassan, it's like special balloons.
He loves that shit. Yeah,
Right. Clayton, it's more design type balloons that he really goes nuts over. And otherwise, being invisible. He loves it when it's only that person that like is geeky that realizes what he added to the story.
Mm. It's like it's
You
I
know.
think this broadly speaking, all creators, not just like I mean letterers, but including everyone, you get your best results if you try to lean into what they love doing. Like
Right.
this is this kind of like that's why you ideally have a conversation with an artist. Like, what do you like drawing? Like,
Right.
is this going to work? And also, like, where do you want to push your art? I mean, I haven't done, when I was working with Jamie long term, we regularly had a kind of okay, where you want to go now? Like, and I always remember like Siege Loki, he wants to do stuff with a deep perspective.
Right.
So I kind of like the second page of Siege Loki for Marvel. There's this shot from Loki looking out over Asgard, and it's Jamie doing stuff with perspective because he wanted to do that, that kind of stuff. So you know, you get doing what you love is obviously that's nice for you, but also the work's better. If you kind of
Right.
make the work miserable for the artist, it's going to end up looking shit. So that's one of
Mhm,
the kind
mhm.
of the reasons why you try to do it.
Right. That
Yeah.
actually that segues nicely to one of the two questions that I had in the back of my head for when Phil gave me space again. Uh is like you and Jamie used to be like Ed and Sean, so like did he piss you off? What happened, man?
Yeah, we ain't never getting back together, like ever. Uh, also,
Are you now are you the is this a John and Paul thing, or is this a
Fleetwood
Gallagher
Mac.
brothers thing where like you'll get back together when you need the money, but you'll like
I was
punch
just
each
like
other backstage?
the me and Jamie all along. I mean, Jamie did a book called Suburban Glamour between the first two phonograms. I met
Right,
Jamie, showing him. He showed me the one an earlier draft of those pages. Jamie's always just wanted to be a writer. Like it's always been one of his desires. He wants to tell his own stories. So all the time I was alone with Jamie, it was like Jamie, you need to do your own stuff, and then I give him the next script. You know what I mean?
right.
So I'm like,
So now he's
I've
finally just doing his own stuff.
yeah, yeah. As in I've
I
aggressively
mean, I
like
did notice he's 5 years younger than you, so it's like he spread his wings. And you were the older brother. You like showed him the ropes, and now it's like, okay, little bird, go fly.
it was one
He's
of the
doing
funny.
great stuff.
I know. Honestly, like we speak almost every day. Mainly about like whatever ridiculous geeky shit we're into. But like,
Right.
I could not be a bigger fan of what Jamie's doing. He's So that sounds like I made. That sounds like I don't mean it.
No,
But I actually,
I mean, I hope you mean it
no, I
because
definitely know. I mean, so, when it sounds like I'm a big fan of his work, it sounds like the most insincere shit. But no,
One
no,
for Sorrow
so
was,
good. Like he's
ugh,
and that's like that was one of the core ideas that came from me, a role playing game I was running for him. And he kind of took his character and thought, I could do a whole comic of this guy. So that I'm still kind of part of his world in that way. And he did a Power Fantasy cover. I will always be there in that kind of way. And I'm just really glad he's doing his own stuff, and I can't wait to see more of it. On the other hand, I'm very aware of the weird inertia that kept us together. Although you said there's not many like. I think like Sean, Ed and Sean are amazing, but Sean wants to just sit and happily draw, and he's clearly very happy doing it. But me and Jamie had this kind of, and he never had any interest in working in the mainstream comics. In that Sean was very much wants to be where he is, whilst Jamie, we managed to be successful enough to do what we did, but also not too successful to tear us apart. Because
Mm.
I remember something like Jock and Andy Diggle who came in together. You know what I mean? But they got to they got to it apart and they broke apart because of what the industry does. Me and Jamie, I got into kind of second rank at Marvel. Really was probably a good way of describing it. Like I was a support actor. And Jamie had, never had an ongoing book of his own. He did regular fill-ins. And so we kind of, then we did Young Avengers together, killed that, made a sort of like, oh no, these guys should do a bigger book. And that was us just doing basically phonogram for Marvel. And then we did Wictive. And then it's like we don't have to work for anyone ever again. And I always remember like when we announced Wictive at the Image Expo and talk about interest. You mentioned Morrison Con. That period was really interesting, and I'm about to say I miss it, which is nostalgic bullshit. But like, I think Morrison Con in some ways makes more sense now because then it seemed a bit weird, but now it's kind of much more of a normal cultural thing. Anyway, back to ImageCon. Everyone else introducing books had a slide of their own, and it was that kind of like Ed Brubaker, Kelly Sue DeConnick. Everyone had their own slide, and me and Jamie's were the only one there was Kieron Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. We were like the
Hmm.
one human. We were like a Gestalt cartoonist, and
Gillen
that's kind
McKelvey.
of it's weird. Like it, and like we did like that one 8 page Batman story for Marvel. For sorry for DC. If we did it for Marvel, it'd be amazing. Uh,
yeah. I mean,
You'll
But
be in
like,
the Spider-Man
They're doing
Superman
crossover
crossover.
stuff again.
yeah.
So
I mean, never saying. I mean, I'm sure, like, it was surprised if me and Jamie never do anything else again. But like, nothing like what we've done. I'm sure, like, it would take
I
something
think the
really huge
next
to get us
one will be
together.
him writing and you doing the art.
We should honestly. My art is pretty amazing. If you ever read Immortal X-Men issue 9, when Sinister's trying to murder everyone, my doodles are Sinister's doodles on the data pages. There's like basically I was doodling
Oh,
over the Hickmanian data page, which I'm quite proud of
um,
in terms of it was a metaphor for what I did at Marvel, I think.
see,
Taking
and
this beautiful Hickman design and destroying it.
I was thinking of the cut up piece that you did of wasn't it like a recruitment poster? It was
Yeah,
something for X-Men.
Orcus.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That me doing my fanzine. But I did that
Hmm.
in Phonogram, like I did a load of montage. Not a load, but I did like a cover for Phonogram 6, the Lloyd issue. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Jamie said he's never seen me happier than sitting on the floor of his bedroom, cutting out people with little scissors and Pritt stick. I'm fundamentally a zine kid,
Yeah.
um, but no longer a kid.
Hmm.
So I also have to ask you, you and Phil, if I get this wrong, just slap me upside the head. You're doing the RPG for Criminal.
Yeah,
Did I
yeah,
read
yeah.
that? So like I love this on every level, but it also just other than the fact that you do RPGs and they decided they wanted an RPG with the next volume of Criminal, like I wouldn't have made that pairing. So like how did it come together?
Ed just DM'd me saying, "Hey, Kieran, do you want to do an RPG for us?" And it was that kind of just like it's for
There
their
we go.
Christmas. It's their Christmas special. It's like just like a like what do you mean like a module? It was like he said like a module kind of thing. Like about 6 pages or so. So it's a small RPG. It's kind of like
Okay.
an itch.io kind of like story game. So it's
Okay.
deliberately quite small in format. But yeah, it's a real game. It's called Flushed. Um, I had two choices of ways to go. One was actually going my mate Grant Howitt, who does a load of one-page RPGs like Honey Heist. So going that way and doing a quite silly and throwaway thing, or trying to do something actually a bit more serious. And I went the latter, surprising no one.
Mm.
Um, it's a kind of the story is you're all people who've just done a heist. You're playing in the Undertow. You're playing a game of cards with a dealer. And the game juxtaposed between you playing this game of cards and talking about how things went and the actual events of the heist. So
Hmm.
and the cards of the cards the hands of cards. I'm doing quotation marks here. Um, they determine who has narrative control in the flashbacks. Yeah. So of words like and each of the cards is kind of the sort of challenge. For example, if the hearts are if the dealer plays a heart card, it's like a challenge of romance or personality. If the dealer plays a diamond card, it's a challenge of like money, as in diamonds, resources. If you play a club card, it's a challenge of connections, as in who do you know. And if you play a spade card, it's a challenge of like murder and violence, as in can you bury them? It's a spade. And so basically, the dealer plays the card, sets up the challenge, then everyone else plays cards, and then you go from there to narrative, and the narrative goes from there. So at the end of the game, so you've done the story, you know it's been successful because it's all told in flashback. If you've won more hand, if you've managed, if the dealer's narrative control at the end of the game, as in do you get to survive or not, is if you get more hands than the dealer, you're fine. If the dealer gets more hands than you, they get narrative control at the end, so they get your epilogue. Oh yeah, but at the same time when all this is going on, so you've got a whole story. Each of the players have a secret objective, and at the end of the game, the actual cards you have are judged like a poker hand. And if you beat the dealer in that hand, you get your secret objective. It happens, and if you don't, it doesn't happen. So in other words,
Wow.
and this basically all cascades down to winning. Basically, is oh no, I've completely ripped off everyone for their money, but then got shot through the back of the head by my brother. It's a criminal story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the secret objectives are things like I'm here to rip off everybody else's money. I'm going to get out or I'm a mole I'm a cop
Mm.
mole. I'm going to get everyone else arrested. Or I know there's a mole here. I'm going to shoot them for the head.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And
So
this,
so
all these
so
things play
see, I
together.
was I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just asking about how it came together and now I feel like we need to throw in the episode notes careful spoilers for Criminal RPG.
It's like It's not a spoil. It's you play it at home. You know, it's
It's
a
a
six play.
preview.
Everyone knows about. You know, it's like it's
Well,
six
but it
pages.
hasn't come out yet. Is
Yeah,
what I mean. You just
it's a.
described the
I
whole
can
game.
pitch it.
Oh
Like,
yeah, we could play the whole game based on listening to this episode now.
He
I love it.
sidestepping Ed and Sean.
yeah.
I
Oh,
just meant so that Sean and Ed will sometime come on the podcast. We haven't had them yet.
They should go like yeah. No, they should go like Ed and Sean are lovely. You know.
I do. I want them. I've had Jacob multiple times.
Yeah. I'll
Uh,
tell you, so going through and reading all of Criminal, because obviously I did the research. Obviously I've read
right.
Criminal, but actually
Right.
reading it in one go. Oh my God,
Okay.
what a body of work! Like
Oh
seeing
God,
it all
yes.
connect together and the structure. It's like, mate,
Yeah.
I loved it anyway, and now I love it on a completely different level.
Yeah. Oh
Actually, one of
yeah.
the things in the game, you encouraged to speak in third person omniscient narrator. So when you're doing the
Nice.
flashbacks, you don't say I'm doing this. You say, you know, it's
Oh, I
like
love it.
you know what I mean.
well,
So it feels a little bit more like how those episodes of
yeah,
Criminal feel. Yeah,
yeah. Because
Oh, I love
I
it.
think it was the first one, Coward. I'm pretty sure had first person narration captions, and then Lawless definitely shifted to third person, and then I don't remember
it
if
varies. Like it depends
yeah,
It
on the type
does.
of story.
yeah.
Like it's a very specifically close first person narrator is done in certain mode, and then the other one isn't. And if you've
Hmm.
got multiple characters in it, you're more likely to have the kind of stepping back, as in this happens.
Hmm.
And that's what it is. This is the story with like four lead characters, basically. It felt
Hmm.
more not like that, if that makes sense. That was my
Yeah.
feeling,
Right.
anyway. And of course, if people don't do that, the game doesn't break.
Mm.
Right. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm looking forward to playing it. Phil,
Hmm. We
we're
are.
gonna
Yeah.
have
It's
to
quick as
have
well. It's like a couple of, an
a
hour, a couple
random
of hours.
Oh,
separate criminal. I mean, if it winds up being part of our die game too, that's cool. But I feel like we're gonna have to have just a criminal episode at some point. Um,
it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting
yeah,
seeing how criminal. Because again, originally I didn't think about working in Lazarus, and then once Lazutocrats came to mind, then it was
Yeah,
all it was written, it was done. Um, no, writing for RPGs is hard.
it is.
I made an attempt at that earlier this year with the Die Jam. I am the same Phil on the Discord who attempted to write about multiclassing in Die. Um,
I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. I see it talk about wholly over ambition, Batman. I started out overly ambitious, thinking, oh, I should develop what would every possible combination look like. Now I'm down to I know what I'm going to do for our game. I the master has stolen the D12, and they are now made a pact with the god of fate, and I know what they're going to do for that, and I can spoil the heck out of it for Ted, but probably won't. But yeah, I
I do love how Phil has. You're a busy guy, so I'm assuming you haven't listened to any of our games, but Phil has managed to work in a player on a week's notice. Phil has managed to wind up having two of the same class of player.
Mhm.
Phil has managed to not have a complete set of all of the various different players. Phil has managed to, oh, you got sick this week. We have to play a player down. Let me roll with that.
Mhm.
And we have not had like, to me, an uninteresting session yet. I would love at some point for somebody to actually tell me how they listen, because I worry that like they're the podcast that we put out that's 100% for us. Not that that would stop me, but I am very impressed with Phil as our
Well, thank
game
you.
master.
Oh, shucks.
Are you
Um,
enjoying it, Phil? As in, like,
I
are you
am.
enjoying GMing it? Is it like,
Yes. Yes. It's a lot of fun. This is also actually my first time running a campaign.
oh
Um,
wow, you've
yeah.
gone in hard. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So to get a little bit scandalous here, I this is very typical for me. So my drug history is that I didn't do drugs or drink until I was 20. 21 I tried marijuana. 21 and a half I tried DMT, and that was it. So it was like the guy was like, "Hey, are you going to be okay?" And I'm like, "Don't worry, I've read Grant Morrison comics. I know what I'm doing." Um, and yeah, that was so. Yeah, I jump in the deep end hard. Yeah, so I'm having fun. I have a vague idea of where the rest of the world is going to be. It's Yeah, I worry that I always worry about attempting to convey what's in my head to the rest of the
Mm.
group. But I'm also learning to pick up the signs of what they find are interesting. I have the most fun when someone suggests something I hadn't considered. Like in today's session, I planned, okay, they're going to meet a group of pirates. The first mate is going to be the Dread Pirate Roberts. He's going to be Wesley from Princess Bride. He's going to be trying to romance Tad's girlfriend who came into this world. There's going to be romantic troubles. Tad comes in and says, "Oh, so is that the last Dread Pirate Roberts?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, of course he's the last one." He's like, "Oh, hi, Fezzik." And I'm like, "You son of a bitch! You son of a bitch! Okay, it's Fezzik now.
You
Fezzik
read
is
the
the first
book.
mate. Yep, Fezzik is the first mate. He's this totally changed. But he's like, I guess Inigo's there too, and I'm like, yeah, he's there too. I'll have to
And
pull up the
Wesley is
character print.
not, because
Wesley's
he,
not.
he went off and retired with
He's
Broderick.
retired. So I guess maybe Fezzik may or may not be attempting to romance your wife girlfriend. We'll see. We'll
Well, I
see.
told him
Yeah.
not to.
Yeah. I was like, well, that means that Wesley's out there somewhere.
Yes,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wesley
Like
is indeed.
that, you put it back on the mantelpiece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wesley's
You know
out
what?
there. He's just not on
He's
the
not in
ship.
that side. Right. I'm writing
Right.
that down. Wesley is
That's
indeed
great.
out there.
Also, the thing about Die is like it, it's deliberately made to be. I mean, all RPGs are like that. All RPGs you plug shit in, but Die
Hmm.
is aggressively saying, really, just rip off all the stuff you like and stick it in the world and see what
Hmm.
happens. And that and
Hmm.
will and it'll hold together by this fiction because the fiction is so meta
Well, and,
anyway.
and like
Yeah.
I love playing the fool because I'm the one that loves playing RPGs and not thinking about them in between. And I feel like it's the first time ever that I have like a character where it's like almost encouraged for me not to be fully present.
What we doing
Because
here?
what better way, yeah, what better way to be completely and utterly foolish than to go,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna,
The
and
definitely.
which is why I think the laptop threw him so hard today because I'm so regularly the guy where it's like, okay, I'm gonna ask for the Carlisle sword, and then I'm gonna run and I'm gonna do a triple jump over the dragon and slam it down into the neck while swinging around to kick into the ogre. And he's
And I'll say that sounds like 4 actions. We'll take it at the
right,
first one.
and he's like, okay, roll the.
Just
But
roll.
this time I'm like,
Yep.
no, okay, so we've had time shift and like that feels very computational. I feel like this whole world is a simulation, and I want the laptop that is wired into.
Brilliant. So all the classes are like, I mean, what I like about Die as a game is the archetypes. You know, the paragons are quite bold, make but they're also always customized by the persona, and they're also customized by the player. As in, so this
Hmm.
kind
Right.
of free level thing that shakes down, and falls are really an interesting like Rorschach test in that way. Because I think
Hmm.
about like actually Al Ewing, I ran a game of Die, which like a campaign for like Jamie, Katie, the editor of Power Fantasy,
Hmm.
and Al. So that was like one of the later playtests with Die, and he was the fool. And he was really because he was like he
I could
disliked.
see him being a really good
Yeah, yeah,
fool.
he was really good, but he got on one level. The character found it really increasingly aggravating. The world was treating him as this kind of like no, he wants the world was treating him much nicer than he wanted to be treated, and that was kind
Mm.
of what I was trying to. That was this story. So we went from there, and then there was this other the Big Die campaign. Saxey, Ellis Saxey, writer. They do really interesting like uh, gothic 19th century fiction and dark academia. They're great, but their fall was like Bertie Wooster. They were a fucking sweetheart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they exactly foolish in all this normal foolish ways, but they were very kind and looking after people, and they're clearly doomed.
Hmm.
You know, and I always remember the first ever game I ever ran of Die. The Fall was in there, and the Fall was catatonic for the whole adventure, and had to basically
Wow.
carry it all the way through the adventure, and then they made out with the master, and everyone went home. Or rather, not never made out. They eventually, should we go for a date afterwards? Kind of because it was an emotional thing there. Classic
Hmm.
queer coming of age story as Die often is.
Hmm.
But I mean, like all of them were fools, you know, and all of them are fools in their own way. Because what's more foolish than actually no going the entirely other way and falling on the ground and refusing to be involved in this bullshit? Um, yeah, yeah.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm a big fan of games. I think it's like what I love about games and having written them is that it's the call to action. Like all my kind of comics to some degree of like, hey, not all of them. A lot of my comics demand interaction. Like people who want to be phonomancers or think about their lives in ways or think about how magic affects themselves and all that kind of stuff. When RPGs just do that. Like you create a structure and then people make it their own. You know what I mean? And yeah, it feels fundamentally punk rock in a way that appeals to the zine kid in me deeply.
It's one of those things where, I mean, I still remember in our very first, we had like a playtest game of Die we did first when we did the ritual, and I said, open your eyes, you're in Die. It was a rush, unlike any video game I've ever played.
That's
Um,
fun. I'm glad
yeah,
it worked.
yeah, it really did. It's, for also being someone who, reads a shit ton of Moore and Morrison and believes in that stuff, believes in the weirdness, the magic, like you said, hacking consciousness. Uh, I tried to be atheist agnostic and it didn't take.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, there's too much weird stuff out there for me to ignore. And yeah, I die tabletop RPGs, the conversation game, it gives me something that I don't get from anything else. And
What he's
that,
not
yeah.
telling you is he tried to be atheist agnostic. It didn't take, so he created a church around you. He feels like he's right now he's talking to God.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
That's,
Yeah,
I
well,
shaved my beard. Like, I genuinely had a longer beard 2 days ago, and I would have been a much
uh,
better god kind of look.
that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, I was yeah, Christianity was I joke that other people were homeschooled, I was home religioned. And thankfully that is a fun way because other people were home religioned in unfun ways. But no,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
they never took me to church and it was nice. I'm glad they didn't. Um but where I was going with all of that basically, so the class, because that was one thing I noticed in thinking about dual classing and die is that you can do that without even doing it. You can make the wizardy fool. You can make. We have two Neos. One is a gunslinger. The other is a hacker. They're
Yes.
inherently going in different directions. So then, why bother?
Yeah.
Why
Honestly, that was the intent, as in like whilst the Paragon giving out the dice is in the GM's hands, even though it's always the players inevitably have an input, which as is they should be.
Mhm,
There's God, all the classes are flexible enough to be able to be like what you want it to be. Some maybe lean more one way, but very much like,
mhm,
yeah, you don't need to. In fact, as much, I mean, I've said this on the Discord, so I'm just repeating what I would have said to
mhm,
people
mhm,
listening. But like the way to hack die is just increase the character trees, give the Neo a different gift.
mhm,
Give the all that kind of stuff. And you're sort
mhm,
of like, this is one of the things about Die Loaded coming back. Look at me segue to Die Loaded.
mhm,
Is that we get to
Well done.
highlight different parts of the game, like in terms of like uh different people, different emotion knights or different Neo. We get to say, oh right, that's a different kind of thing they could be doing, because it's like we've only got a Grief Knight. Matt's there's a good one. Like
mhm,
Matt was the Grief Knight. We've only really met a Grief Knight in play, and we've met another Emotion Knights. But we've got a very different kind of Emotion Knight as the heart of this one, and that kind of
mm,
stuff. So like, and
excellent.
when people kind of look at Die Loaded and Die now, they go, oh right, I can see a different ways this could play out, which is the intent.
Yeah.
And of course, we also, as well as doing the comic, we're doing extra stuff in the back of the comics as well for the game. Like only like a couple of pages. Like we're going to do the minimum is the gods. I want to have like
Mm,
actual official rules for the 12 gods of Die in there.
okay.
But like, see what else. I don't want to ask me again later. I'll say it on the
Sure.
Discord.
I,
But
I
Right.
yeah.
there's this campaign frame I kind of want to write, but I need to play test it.
Mm.
Right.
I mean, if
So
you're looking for players, just
so
but
so
yeah, go ahead.
like like when I hear as I hear each of you talk about the Die Discord, which isn't one of the discords that I'm involved in, and even the discords that I am involved in, I tend to be a lurker, except when I'm not, if that makes sense.
Same.
Um, but also not like a heavy duty lurker. They're like 90% of what's on the Discord that I'm involved in, like, or any Discord that I'm involved in, I have absolutely zero knowledge about. It might as well not exist, right?
Yeah,
And this like plays into my autism, like if you're not in front of me, you cease to exist. I don't really miss people. I will think of them when something makes me think of them. And occasionally one of those thoughts will be, I haven't talked to them in a while. I should send them a text. And I
Mm.
either will do that right then or forget about it for the next year. Um, but so as I hear you talking about the Discord, I find myself like, what is the die fandom like? It sounds like there are more people playing die than I
There's
realized.
a lot of
Um,
neuroscientists and tech people.
that I also believe. Like, but like, um, how involved are you with the community versus just being the creator? And B, like, talk to me about the differences between like your comic fan communities and your role playing community. And obviously they're going to cross over quite a bit just because of
Mm.
the nature of the game. But I mean, it sounds like it's robust enough that I would be shocked if everybody playing it started as a reader.
No, no, absolutely. Like, there's a lot of people who are just RPG people. It's a it's an RPG that did fairly well. It's an interesting concept people jumped on. Some people have gone one way or the other. Some people just pop in because it's a Discord. You know, um, it's like self-sustaining. Like I'm there quite a lot, as in like there's moderators. I try to keep slightly distant because there's I think boundaries are important in that way, but like I've got to fight to not jump on and answer every single question. Especially like I know there's enough people who know the game very well who will answer most stuff, and I don't need to do it.
Hmm.
But occasionally, especially when I see someone making a really big mistake,
Hmm.
like and it's either they've misread a rule in a very fundamental way, or like they're going to do something which isn't a good idea. I said,
Yeah.
don't do that. Like multi-classing people, why would you do that, dude?
Because you don't know when enough is enough, and when you
Yeah,
have a mouthful, you want another bite.
yeah. It's like it's chatty, it's friendly. That's the kind of like it's not hyper big, but it's like it's also not small either. It's not like a dead Discord, but it's kind of people like there's stuff happening. I check every day. There's normally something chatting about. I imagine it'll be busier again, like when the comic comes out as well. That's the
Right.
other thing about the thing that the we're doing the a downloaded quick start in the comic book format. So like as well on the same day as the first issue of Die Loaded comes out, we've got this quick start of how to start playing Die. It's 56 pages, all the rules, the core rules, the core scenario, not the
Right.
core rules, the core character sheets, and a completely normal scenario for itself. So you just buy this and start playing. So basically, it's another way for people who have been intrigued by Die. Here's a really easy way to start playing, which will probably lead people going to the Discord. Is my thinking.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, it's not a question that I wind up asking that much in general, but because my head is now on it with comics versus role playing and whatnot. Like as a creator, how does it feel the same? How does it feel different? Like interacting with people who are playing a game that you created versus the people showing up at your table at cons that want to talk about how meaningful your writing was to them. I mean, well, and similarly, like talk to me particularly because you said that you've been, writing RPG modules as well. Talk to me about the differences between writing for a role playing game, writing for a comic. I mean,
Mm.
I can see the similarities, but and I talked to Ryan K. Lindsay when he did his solo role playing game, you know but that's that's slightly more contained when it's a solo role playing game. There's a lot of room for it. I mean, you got to allow for the player to have lots of control and whatnot, but it's not like okay, here's and particularly with Die, it is one of the reasons I love it so much. It's so non-crunchy. It's so okay, here's a
Mm.
really loose set of guidelines. Go play.
Yeah. It definitely like the part when I was building the actual systemic bit of Die, as in the rules. Um, what's the closest I can get that does what most trad games do that I could bear to run? That's the kind of like it's got to feel a bit like a trad game in some ways,
Right.
but like oh, you've got dice, you roll dice, things happen. You hit monsters, they lose hit points. There's the real core stuff. But like everything else, I burnt down and got it very, very clean, while still having enough bits around the edges that it feels like an RPG. Like if you pick up die, it looks like an RPG. It's like this big, but it's got almost a Potemkin village type structure to it. In that it
Right.
looks like an RPG, but if you prod it, you'll realize it's made out of paper, and deliberately so. As in, it's like it has all the fetishism of an RPG, but without actually the interest of like how Wizards will put together a D&D source book. Um, what's the difference? Well, there's millions of them. I was going to say that the fact that RPGs are more the actual create, more the audience, you don't really get into the level of star worship as much in terms of like people often seem to think there's something magical about creators, and of course, all of Wick did was about that's nonsense, and if you believe that, or if creators start believing that, they really are in trouble. Um, and I don't think that's as true in RPGs because so much of the magic's about themselves. As in, you have brought the magic together. And I say that, I'm not sure that's true. Like, I think in some degrees, people still have a tendency to put people on pedestals, even if they.
I
But
was
I think
about to
there's some.
say, I know a lot of people who they would have trouble with you saying that about, say, Gary Gygax.
But at the same time, but all of the 1970s stuff was fucking about tearing Gary Gygax down. D&D
That's
is too
true.
big to be trusted with Gary Gygax. There's a
Right.
fundamentally iconoclastic nature of RPGs because RPGs are, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Is even Gary Gygax
Right.
isn't torn down. You know what I mean? That's what I think I'm wrestling with. But I still notice I think people just idolize. You know what I mean? So I think that's too
Right.
loose. The difference about writing for RPGs is level of precision. Like RPG, like I'm writing scripts. I'm doing a story. It's easy in that way. A level of precision to every single word you're putting in front of people, if it's going to be any use at all, which I'm bad at. Um, RPG writing burns ideas like nothing else. I remember writing this scenario for a game called Apocalypse Keys. Really good game. Basically, kind of like a very melodramatic Hellboy kind of setup about these people in an organization with the power to end the world. Power Fantasy fans would love it. Um, I wrote this scenario for it, and I did the whole thing, and I was aware that this 3,000 word scenario I've written, this is as much story I would probably fit in a Once and Future arc. I could have, for this, whatever I got paid for it, I could have written 5 to 6 comic pages, 5 to 6 issues of comics and got paid that money instead. You know what I mean? So RPGs burn ideas, especially if you're writing the stuff I like, which is the story game side. Like bigger RPGs, you can pad it a bit because they're paid more by the word, and story games are more about the concentration of ideas. Sorry,
Right.
I'm being very generalized here. RPG people listening, please don't murder me. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, but if you look at like a random table, like a random
Well,
table is
so
10
that's
random
where I'll say
ideas.
hi to my brother Adam. My brother Adam's the RPG person listening. Please don't get mad at Kieran.
Please don't, Adam.
Yeah.
But look, if you look at say any random table, that's 10 novums of ideas put down there. And like, if you do that in comics, you either, you're your Grant or your Al. You know what I mean? You're that kind of that big burst of ideas coming at people that hard. That's just normal in comics. It's sorry, normal in
Right.
RPGs. So I find it really interesting and challenging, and it works for me. I must say, I'm really into it. Like, I'm noodling with like I'm writing a few scenarios to various people because they asked me. But I've got a bigger project I'm working on as well. Yeah, there's at least one reason why I've said about not doing more leaving space. What I've ended up filling the space, which I'm not spending writing comics are, is noodling and RPG stuff. And it's like, congratulations, Kieran, you found a field that pays worse than comics.
Well,
I've got a gift.
here's my question though. I mean, you talk about how it burns ideas, but does it? Because comics are not only a separate medium, but like, couldn't you write the like if you wanted to, couldn't you take those ideas that you just put into a module and with whatever minor changes you wanted to make it a story rather than part of the role-playing universe, still write the comic?
Like, if it was strictly speaking a piece of work for hire, as in like, no, I think I've used. I think I've used those ideas, and I think I could have probably get away with moving it over, but I probably feel intellectually iffy about reusing the idea, maybe.
Okay.
And that's just on that's partially on me and partially on
I
the
mean, I
business
would
side.
argue, and this is like this is both the I like people to get paid when they can, and the teacher in me that questions every assumption that a student makes that limits themselves in any
Mm.
way. And it is truly a question. It's not a me saying you're wrong. Um, like if you're taking your own ideas and fleshing them out more, what's intellectually wrong with that?
True. But to actually really kind of step back to the original point is you have to generate all those ideas to an RPG. If you do an
Right.
idea, if you do something with those ideas later, it doesn't change the fact you had to work out more ideas earlier. And it,
Right.
and the same, in other words, you've had to generate more ideas here, and only some of them you'll be developing. Because this is the other trick, is you can do this in making more idea thing, because you always have more ideas you can use. That's
Right.
the real truth of the matter. As in,
Right.
that's why the form of writing is possible. But it's
Right.
fucking hard work, RPG. It's dense.
Yeah.
What I mean, it's really
Yeah.
long. It's not like a script where
I'm
there's
just
like all
I'm
the
just thinking
architectural.
rather than thinking them as burned ideas, they're your drawer of ideas for that
Well,
day that like you don't know what to write about.
my experience relating to that and the one attempt at writing, RPG material I have is mostly that um whereas in a story you can drop an idea and let it percolate and see how it fits in with the whole. It's the difference between writing a story about a watch and building a watch, is that you might be able to conceptually know how it works, but when you're building a watch, you have to actually know how it fucking works, and you have to put the gears together.
Yeah, you can't cheat. It's by definition game mechanics. The clue's there. You know. And even if you're cheating, you're telling people how to do a card trick. And
Hmm.
that's the actual. So much of like RPG design is a card trick. As in, if you do this, you'll have emotional effects. It's like you're describing die, the bit where say close your eyes and open, you're in die. That
Hmm.
the whole thing is that's really very carefully play tested. It's a little magical ritual.
Hmm.
Like we're using some of the tropes of magic rituals. We're going to make you pass out the dice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like there's a level of buy-in to this kind of thing. And that is exactly it. You can't cheat, and even when you cheat, you're you're showing them how to do it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's kind of like, as a GM, a question that I've danced around is, asking my players, so how much would you like to be surprised?
Yeah.
And that's not a question you can directly ask someone and say, well, how much would you like to be surprised? Because when you
Yeah.
ask someone, well, because then as soon as you ask someone, hey, would you like to be surprised right now? They're expecting a surprise, and
Yeah.
the odds of surprising them goes
Okay.
down.
Is that like the it's one of those really interesting questions about like buy-in in RPGs. Like at the start, okay, at the start we're going to discuss what we're going to be doing. Like that includes that. As in, like
Hmm.
how much are you going to how much are you going to trust me? Like, or is
Right.
this a game where we want to play everything open? Or like how much are the boundaries we're going to have? And all those things push and pull in different directions. I broadly am speaking, I don't play games with too much hidden information anymore. And that's a stage I'm going through. I mean, I was listening to Quinn's, who like Quinn's is a very old mate of mine. He's the biggest RPG reviewer.
Hmm.
Um, he is talking about impossible missions. Not in No Army, it's the other one. Delta Green. He's talking about the big Delta Green campaign, and so much about that is about really just messing with the players. And there's like, okay, that's my read on what he said. Please excuse me, Delta Green fans. Um, that school of play where the scenarios is a very deliberate trick for the players. I'm less into perhaps, and the irony being, of course, people have said that about Die. The that maybe players shouldn't know that they're going to go to an RPG. I've never said that. I would very much tell people up front the game is about you're going to be. That's why you want to make interesting people, or like stuff like the Fallen. And I don't. For me, if it works really well as a surprise. They've got up. For me, it also works if you know it's going to happen if you die, because then you're ahead on the drama. Because I very much have the idea if everyone was a collaborator, we know what this. Okay, I become a fallen. What does that mean? And you're already
Hmm.
thinking about how this is going to play out dramatically. You have to have faith in people. That's what RPGs really are about. I think
Yeah.
that's an
I'm
overgeneralization again.
No, no,
Yeah, no,
I feel it too because
I was
our
going to say I think we've had enough fun that I'm thinking that Kieran's not going to hate us and say he's never coming back, and we're also starting to run up
I do
against
see
my
that.
deadline,
I was going to say,
so I
yeah,
have to get the required final
Yep,
question
yep,
in.
yep, yep.
Um, Tell me something you love, preferably a comic, but we don't have rules.
oh my
Preferably
God.
storytelling, but again with the rules. But something that you love that not enough people around you have experienced, and you need them to, so you have more people to talk about it with.
I hate this question. Like the idea, like now I've gone really hard because it's like I have pretty high standards and I talk about everything to everybody. What was the last thing that genuinely blew me away? Um, was it? Well, I forget which was the first Ray Fawkes. Ray Fawkes did two,
One
uh,
soul and
and the people inside. Which one was the
yeah,
second one?
I think the people inside
I think the people inside was the second
because
one. Ray
that's
Fawkes
one of
did
our first
these
ones.
series of amazing graphic novels for Oni. The people, both of them have a similar theme, and the idea that basically one soul is 9 panel grid, and each one is following a different person through their life. And so basically telling 9 lives, every page turn takes each carrier further in. People inside is like that, but in spreads and about relationships. Um, they're masterful formalist things. Like they're just
Hmm.
really beautiful, elegantly done, like completely about life and hope. Ray's like people. If people in mainstream comics, they may be knowing him from his work for DC, and he does really good stuff in
His
those kind of
first
spaces.
issue of what's the he just did is I'll remember it. Keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. But like he does like he's absolutely can do absolute genre stuff in lots of different ways. But this is really like arty, clever, smart, really grounded, human stuff that you have not seen anything at all like.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's something I truly love, and more and more people should have read it.
The
Well, and I will say it's been on my list, but I haven't read it yet. So you did the rare thing of managing to come up with a comic that like I need to read.
Yeah.
Um, and what I was looking for is he just started writing the Phantom at Mad Cave, and the first
Oh,
issue
cool. Oh, I
was
missed that. I've not
fantastic.
talked for Ray in a while. I'll have to drop him a line.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
the first issue of Phantom came out, and actually for me it was particularly exciting because it hasn't reached print yet, but I did my first email interview with Jason, the Norwegian cartoonist who now
Hmm.
lives in France. Yeah. Um, and he brought up how big the Phantom is in um, Scandinavia, and the fact that long after it was still being made regularly in the US, it continued in Scandinavia. And like I fell down a rabbit hole and like discovered that, oh, the only English versions of all of these Scandinavian Phantom comes from the translations out of Australia.
Oh, wow.
mhm.
So like it became when I then saw that Mad Cave was doing it and Ray Fox, who's fantastic, was taking on the writing duties, is like, oh, this could be so much cooler than most people think it could be, because there's actually like this whole world of Phantom that most English speakers don't know about.
Mm.
And I'll be curious to know. Like I've been meaning to reach out to him for a while. I met him briefly at C2E2 a couple of years ago. Um, and you're like now you're throwing questions into my. I mean, you're gonna make me. The biggest reason I haven't reached out to him is I knew I wanted to read these books before I reached out to him. So now you're gonna kick me into gear to read these, and then reach out to Ray and also ask him about the Phantom, because apparently it's way cooler than I thought it was.
That's cool.
So, Kieran, it has been a blast. Um, we'll definitely be in touch. We'd love to have you back. Obviously, transatlantic is a little bit more difficult because both Phil and I like work during the day most of the
Mm.
time, and you know, it makes it hard. And I don't want you to stay up till midnight when you have small children.
Yes. Well, I would love to come back. It's been delightful. I feel
I'm
I've been quite spacey, so I feel I'm
no,
not
I
being on my
mean,
best, but it's been lovely
so
talking.
so have
Hmm,
I. Phil's been on his game because he was the one
thank
that
you.
prepared. Um,
I wrote questions.
Hey,
I haven't written questions in like 2 years now because I realize that the more questions I write, the less fluid I feel like the interview is because like I want to get to the next question rather than exploring where the conversation is
yeah, yeah.
going.
Hmm.
I sometimes think about it. Obviously, I used to be a journalist. I sometimes I was never a great interviewer, but I
Yeah.
sometimes think about it like GM prep. The idea you've done the prep, you thought about stuff that could be talked about, and then you just throw it away. And like it's
Right.
just like having done a little bit of thinking beforehand puts you in a
Right.
place, but you're
Yep.
not married to it.
I,
Yeah.
I
That
would
that
also say,
that's where I try to go.
Mm.
having listened to almost all of Decompressed, you're at least a passable interviewer.
That's what I mean. I'm
Yeah,
passable. Like
yeah.
I was a great critic. I say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
with all
I
the
see. I
ego.
see the distinction. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Did you do the sign off yet? You haven't done the sign off yet.
yeah.
I haven't done the sign off, so
Okay,
I will say
I
for
had two questions, and you
okay,
asked your last
okay,
one. So we're
go,
no, no,
go
no, no.
really
Those are
quick.
after our questions.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, after our
yeah.
questions. Gotcha. So for Kieron Gillen, this has been 22 panels, and we will see you after the next page.